Hello and welcome to Dave the Suit Betting. Today I'm going to go through finding out the going allowance for an entire meeting. So we're going to be doing Leicester for June the 15th, 2024. The official going was good to soft, good in places, but I'll tell you it wasn't. So here we go. So this is the 9 o'clock at Leicester, ran over 7 furlongs on the 15th of June 2024. It's a 0 to 72 for 3-year-olds. Okay, the winner's 70, the second 72, the third is 71. So I'm calling this a 0 to 70. This is the time of the race, 1 minute 24.96. It is slow by 2.56 seconds. So, Leicester, the 15th of June, we're going to do all the races we can to ascertain the going allowance. You don't normally have to do 5, but I'm going to do 5 that it's possible to do just to show you how to do it. The first one, I'll show you the full example. Okay, so the first race that we're going to assess is the 9 o'clock race on the 15th of June 2024. It's over 7 furlongs. And it's restricted to 3-year-olds, as you can see, and it's a 0 to 72. But if you look at it, the winner was rated 70, the second was rated 72, and the third was rated 71. So I'm going to call it a 70. So let's have a look at the sheet. And this is on the previous video, working out the going allowance. And on the previous sheet, you can see there are a 0 to 70 handicap should be ran 5 seconds below the standard time. Okay, and then also if you look at the bottom here on this sheet that I've got, 3-year-olds this time of year in June are allowed an extra 0.7 seconds. This is all per mile below standard, or should I say above standard, slower than standard. So 5 plus 0.7 is 5.7 over a mile. Everything's over a mile to kick off with. So it's 5.7. Okay, that's over a mile. There are 8 furlongs in a mile. So we divide it by 8. And then we multiply. That equals whatever it does. Then we multiply it by 7. And that equals 4.9875. That is the time that it should take, longer than the standard time for this grade of race. Now, if we look at the 9 o'clock at Leicester towards the bottom, the race, 1 minute 24.96. It is slow by 2.56 seconds. So you take off that from the allowance. We see that it's been ran 2.56 seconds slow. So we minus 2.56, which will give us this figure. Now that means that this race has been ran in 2.4275 seconds faster than would be expected for the grey. We now divide that by 7. That's the furlongs that it's over. And this gives us a rating that is speeding the horse up by 0.346787, if you want to get complicated, seconds per furlong. So we would write in 0.3. Now I would round it up to I'd round it up to 2 decimal places. So 0.35. Okay. Now I always put a minus in front of that if the going is faster than would be expected, faster than standard. So it's quickening the horses up. Okay. So that's the 7 furlong race. So this is the 6 furlong race at Leicester, 0 to 68 for 3-year-olds plus. So we can see that there's a 5-year-old there and a 5-year-old there. So we're going to call it again at 70. You could quite easily call this a 65. It's entirely up to you. Okay, here's the time of the race, so you take this off, 2.87 seconds. That's what gets taken off the allowance. A 6 furlong race, again, this is for 3-year-olds and upwards, and the second horse was 5, the third horse was 5. So it's a 0 to 68. We can call it a 0 to 70. Look at the chart, you know that it's 5 seconds. Okay, we divide it by 8, the number of furlongs in a mile. We multiply it by 6, which is today's distance, and that gives us this figure, 3.75. Once we've scrolled down, we found out that this was ran 2.87 seconds slower than standard. So we minus 2.87 seconds. And that gives us 0.88. We divide that by 6, the distance of today's race, and we get a figure of 0.1466. So here we would put in minus, because it was speeding the horse up, 0. We round it up, 15. Okay. This is the 5 furlong race, 0 to 80 for 3-year-olds only. Okay, and we can see that the 0 to 80, it is a true 0 to 80. The winner was rated 80. So down here, slow by 2.14 seconds. You take that off the allowance. The next race is 5 furlongs. And it's for 3-year-olds. So again, 0.7, 3-year-olds. This time of year, this is what they get. And 0 to 80, look on the sheet. 0 to 80 is 4.4 seconds. So plus 4.4 equals, again, that's for over a mile. Divide it by 8. Let me get the old pencil out, you can see it quicker. Divide it by 8, which is furlongs in a mile, and then multiply it by 5. And that will give you, this race should be ran 3.1875 seconds slower than standard. But once you've scrolled down, you've seen that it's ran 2.14. Take the 2.14 off, minus 2.14 gives us 1.047. You divide that by the number of furlongs, which is 5, and this race was ran at 0.2095 seconds per furlong faster than it should have been. 0. So we'd round it to 2 digits, 21. Now normally I wouldn't do 12 furlongs, but as we're doing them all, we might as well do 12 furlongs. So this race is a 0 to 55. So the allowance for that is going to be a 0 to 60. We never go below 0 to 60. Okay, so the allowance for that is 5.6 seconds. It is older horses. Now this is the 179 yards. So when you divide 179 by 220, which is the yards in a furlong, that gives you a figure of 0.81. So this is run over 1 mile, 3 furlongs and 179 yards, which is 11.81 furlongs. Obviously, then we take this off the allowance. So as it said before, this is not really 12 furlongs. It's 11 furlongs and 179 yards. So we need to convert the 179 into a decimal of a furlong. So it's 1. So it's 179 divided by 220 equals. This is the decimal of a furlong for that distance, 179 yards. Just make a note of that. So 0.81. We don't need to put all the digits in, just the first 2 or 3. So it's a 0 to 55 for all aged horses 4 and above. The lowest rating we do is a 0 to 60, so we give it the lowest rating, which is 5.6 seconds. So 5.6 divided by 8 furlongs in a mile. Now we're going to multiply it by. Now this is 11 furlongs, 179 yards. We've ascertained that the 179 here is 0.81. So multiply it by 11 furlongs, 0.81. And that gives us 8.267. We scroll down and we find that this race was ran 6.6 seconds slower than standard. So we minus that off, take that off, minus 6.67. That gives us 1.597. We then divide that by the distance, which we know is 11.81 furlongs, which equals 0.135. So 12 furlongs minus 0.1, probably rounded up to 4. 135 gets rounded up to 4. Okay, and the last race is 10 furlongs. Now 0 to 72. Now what you've noticed by this race is when you take the allowance, you minus this from the allowance, you end up with a minus number, and that minus number tells us that the race was ran in a slow time, slower than it should have been for the grade and for the standard time, a lot slower than it should have been. Please notice that all these races are handicaps. So 10 furlongs at Leicester. We've looked at the race and we've ascertained that it's actually a 0 to 72. The winner was rated 73, the second was rated 70, the third was rated 73. So you can either call it a 70 or you could call it a 75. Now a 75, look at the sheet, and a 75 here, the horses should be running 4.7 seconds per mile slower than standard. So .7. Okay, we divide this by 8 again, and we multiply it by 10, which is the number of furlongs we are now running over. That gives a number of 5.875. When we scroll down, we notice that the figure given for above standard is 6.79, which is a larger number than we've got. So we know this is a slow run race. So we take off 6.79, and that gives us a minus number. A minus. That means it was slow. We then divide this by 10, and it's a minus 0.0915. So because it's a slow race, we've actually put a plus in, even though it's a minus on the calculator, and we're going to round it up to 0.10. And when we divide it by 10, we get a minus number on the calculator, and that is the fact that it's slowing the horses down, rounded up, by 0.10 seconds, a tenth of a second per furlong. So you put a plus, even though it's a negative number on the calculator, you put plus 0.10, because it's 1/10 of a second per furlong slower than it should have been, allowing for the grade of the race. So they're the 5 races we've chosen. Now what I notice is the 12 furlong and the 10 furlong are on the round track. So these are on the round track. These are on the straight course at Leicester. Straight. Now, it's not that much difference. What we've got a fast run race here, and we've got a slow run race here. So what we can do is top and tail. This is one way of doing it when you've got plenty to go at. So we put a line through that, and we put a line through that. This race, by the way, was running a good time, but it doesn't matter. And that leaves us with three figures: 1-4, 1-5, and 2-1. So I would say, overall, the judgment call, I would say that this going allowance at Leicester was speeding the horses up by 0.15. And I'll show you the sheet later. And this means that the ground is good. Now, if you look at Leicester, it says good to soft. But if you actually look in the going description for the results page, it says good to soft, good in places. And that's how you get the going allowance. So the going allowance for Leicester was speeding the horses up by 0.15 seconds per furlong. Let me just get that in. Speeding them up. Going was officially, I've got the going at good, even though the official going was good to soft, good in places, and it was speeding them up by 0.15 seconds per furlong, which is about best part of 3/4 of a length per furlong. Well, there you have it. Now, the reason that the mile 2 figure was slow, and this is what you've got to look out for, is that a mile 2 race at Leicester starts on a hill. The start stalls start on a hill. So when the horses come out, they take a bit of getting going anyway. But if they're going up a hill, it really slows them down significantly. It's very similar at a mile at Leicester, but a mile 2, it's significant. When they come out of the stalls, they are going immediately up a hill, and that's probably what slowed them down somewhat. It's got its own unique qualities, Leicester. So there you have it, the going allowance for Leicester. So every result for every race was given out as good to soft. Look at the top, it said it was good to soft. Let me just show you. There, good to soft. But the ground was good to soft, good in places. Now our times suggest otherwise. Our times suggest that the going was genuinely good, with maybe the odd dodgy soft patch, or maybe good to soft in places, but generally it was good ground. I'll show you the ratings, how you do the ratings for the going. Now it should be. So these are the going allowances and the actual ground. Notice there's no good to firm, good in places. There's no good to soft in places. There's no good to soft in places. Nothing like that. There's no in between. These are the official going allowances and what ground you should be working it to. There's also one for the all-weather if you're interested in the all-weather. I'm being lazy doing this by using a camera. It's just that this sheet was on my other computer and I couldn't be bothered to transfer it across. So again, you need to write these down if you're serious about doing this and creating your own ratings for horses and for races, which I will be showing you how to do in a later video. They're the figures what you should work with, and you'll find out that the courses are slightly out with the going quite a lot of the time. Just use your own judgment. The more you do it, the more you'll get a feel for the going and for the race courses. Make sure that when you do a race course, you look at the map on the Racing Post website. So if you just click on the course, you'll go to if you click on Leicester. I'm doing it now to remind myself. Click on Leicester, you'll get the starts, the course map, the course race course, the favourite signpost, which you have to subscribe to. You get quite a lot of info on there, and you click on the course map, and it will show you the undulations, the highest point, the low point, where all the distances start, and obviously the winning post. I hope this video was informative. You just need a basic calculator. Don't get one of those scientific calculators. It'll drive you up the wall. The numbers won't work out. This is Dave the Suit, educating people. Bye for now.